There are certain people in this world that the Stoics strongly advised us to avoid. These people don't just bring negativity, they can slowly drain your energy, sabotage your growth, and weigh you down with their toxic presence. In today's video, we will discuss 9 types of people that Stoicism warns us about. People who can manipulate, deceive, and hold you back from becoming the best version of yourself. If, while watching this video, you realize that some of these people are already present in your life, don't ignore it. It's time to take action and remove them before they cause irreversible damage to your mental peace and success. Why should you care? The people you surround yourself with shape your thoughts, habits, and destiny. If you allow negativity to stay in your life, you will struggle to find peace, clarity, and purpose. Stoicism teaches us to guard our minds and emotions from those who bring unnecessary drama, distraction, and destruction. What will you learn today? We will dive deep into the different types of toxic individuals, liars, manipulators, people who constantly complain, those who never take responsibility, and many more. By the end of this video, you will have a clearer understanding of who to avoid and how to protect your peace. But before we start, a big thank you to all of you for watching. If you find this content valuable, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on more life-changing Stoic wisdom. Now let's get started. Let's get number 1, the flatterer. In this world, there are all kinds of people, some genuine, some crafty, and some who only think about their own gain. Stoic philosophy warns us about one particular type of person, the flatterer. These are the people who shower us with praise, but their compliments aren't based on genuine admiration. They aren't saying these things because they truly appreciate us, but because they want something from us. They have an agenda, whether it's to gain our approval, to manipulate us into doing something, or simply to get ahead in some way. At first, a compliment from a flatterer might seem harmless. When someone says, "Wow, you're amazing. There's no one better than you." It feels good to hear, but have you ever stopped to wonder, why are they praising you so excessively? Is it coming from a true place of admiration, or is it part of a hidden agenda? The Stoics teach us not to take every compliment at face value. A genuine friend will support you and tell you the truth, even if it's difficult to hear. A flatterer, on the other hand, will only praise you when it serves their own purpose. Think about it. Where do you typically find these flatterers? They appear when you're in a position of power or influence. They surround you when they need something from you, making everything you do seem brilliant. But once they've gotten what they wanted, they disappear, and you realize their praise was never about you. It was always about them. The true face of a flatterer is revealed when you're in need. A true friend stays by your side, even in difficult times. But a flatterer, they're already off with someone else as soon as the favor is done. The Stoics remind us to recognize flatterers. Don't be blinded by excessive praise. Always question the motives behind it. Is this praise genuine, or is it just part of a scheme? Remember, a genuine compliment is rare and precious, but a compliment given to serve someone's agenda is just a sweet poison. So the next time someone showers you with over-the-top praise, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, is this praise real, or is there a hidden motive behind it? Wisdom lies in seeing through the flattery and recognizing the true intentions of the flatterer. Number 2, the greedy, another toxic personality type the Stoics warn us to be wary of. The greedy are individuals consumed by an unrelenting hunger for material desires and the relentless pursuit of wealth. Their insatiable avarice is not just a fleeting wish for more, but a deep, all-consuming craving that clouds their judgment and corrupts their character. For the greedy, accumulating money, possessions, and status symbols becomes the singular purpose of life. Every decision, every action is driven by the desire to have more, and they never feel satisfied, no matter how much they accumulate. Even if they are already rich, their hearts remain empty, always yearning for the next possession, the next triumph, the next achievement. Their greed is a force that knows no bounds. They will scheme, exploit, and trample over anyone in their path in order to amass more wealth and possessions. In their minds, life is a zero-sum game, where more for them means less for everyone else. Their inability to share, to give, stems from a deep-seated belief that there is only so much to go around, and they must hoard it all for themselves. Their actions are guided by a belief that they must always come first, even if it means sacrificing the well-being of others in the process. But what the greedy fail to understand is that their relentless pursuit of wealth makes them profoundly insecure. They are trapped in a cycle where no amount of money is ever enough to bring them peace. They accumulate riches, but it only fuels their anxiety, creating a constant fear that they might lose it all. The more they possess, the more they crave, and the emptier they feel. This endless cycle of desire is the heart of their misery. The Stoics recognize that greed stems from a mindset of scarcity. The greedy are never truly content because they always feel as though they are lacking something essential. They constantly seek external validation and material gain, yet this never fills the void inside them. This internal emptiness destroys their peace of mind, their sense of self-worth, and their integrity. The Stoics advise us to avoid being consumed by greed. True freedom lies not in the endless chase for wealth, but in being content with having enough, satisfied by the simple joys of life, and by focusing on what truly matters: character, wisdom, and serenity. These are the true treasures that enrich the soul. When we are satisfied with enough, we can free ourselves from the endless cravings that bind us to a life of superficial pursuits. We find fulfillment in inner peace and personal growth, not in material accumulation. The greedy, however, have a distorted set of priorities. They place money and possessions above all else, valuing material gain over virtue, tranquility, and human connection. Their judgment is clouded by their insatiable desires, leading them to make choices that compromise their values and their happiness. The Stoics urge us not to emulate the greedy, nor should we envy their wealth. After all, more does not mean better. True fulfillment comes from within, from living a life aligned with wisdom, virtue, and contentment, not from the endless accumulation of external gains. In the end, the greedy will find that their pursuit of more never brings them the satisfaction they seek. They will always be chasing something just out of reach, never realizing that what they truly long for, peace, joy, and fulfillment, has been within them all along. The Stoics teach us that contentment with what we have and the cultivation of inner virtues is the only path to lasting happiness. Let us learn from their wisdom and guard against the insidious pull of greed that leads us away from the true treasures of life. Number 3. The envious. The envious are another toxic type of individual that the Stoics advise us to avoid and not emulate. These are people who feel a deep resentment toward the talents, successes, or possessions of others. The envious are perpetually jealous of what others have and are unable to find contentment in their own achievements. They see the good fortune of others not as something to admire, but as something that diminishes their own worth. The envious operate from a mindset of scarcity, believing that life is a zero-sum game. In their minds, when someone else gains something, it means less for them. This mindset breeds resentment, insecurity, and animosity, poisoning their thoughts and actions. The envious person, driven by these negative emotions, acts out of spite and jealousy. They often try to undermine those they envy by belittling their talents, dismissing their successes as mere luck or privilege, or spreading nasty rumors to tarnish their reputation. Instead of celebrating the accomplishments of others, they seek to tear them down. Envy doesn't just make the envious person bitter, it makes them spiteful. They cannot stand the thought of someone else getting ahead, so they try to spoil it, even if it means sabotaging their own peace of mind in the process. Rather than being inspired by the achievements of others, the envious person reacts with jealousy. Their jealousy leads them to make snide remarks, deliver backhanded compliments, and secretly revel in the misfortune of those they envy. When someone they envy faces a setback, it almost brings them satisfaction. This twisted satisfaction, though fleeting, only deepens their own sense of emptiness and unhappiness. The Stoics recognized envy as a form of involuntary moral weakness, stemming from a lack of wisdom and perspective. But they also emphasized that, while envy might arise within us, we have the power to choose whether to act upon it. The wise course is to view others with goodwill and celebrate their successes rather than resent them. We should strive to be inspired by the talents and virtues of others, using their accomplishments as motivation to cultivate our own character and virtues, rather than falling into the trap of envy. Number 4. The angry. Another problematic personality type the Stoics warn us about is the chronically angry person. These individuals are prone to frequent rages, bitterness, and desires for revenge. Their temper often overpowers their reason and judgment, making them a danger to themselves and others. The angry person is easily set off by minor provocations, whether real or imagined. They tend to view others' actions and words in the worst possible light and are quick to take offense, often blowing things out of proportion. Their inability to let go of their anger makes them carry grudges over long periods, refusing to forgive or move on. The Stoics saw the root of anger as thwarted desires and a sense of helplessness. The angry person feels as though they are not receiving what they deserve from the world. This perceived injustice breeds resentment, frustration, and a deep urge to lash out. When gripped by anger, they believe that rage and retaliation are the only ways to assert control over their lives. But in reality, their anger only strengthens their feelings of helplessness. Anger clouds the angry person's ability to think clearly or act constructively. Their temper clouds their judgment, and they are likely to speak harshly or act impulsively, making the situation worse rather than better. When consumed by anger, they are not able to approach the situation with a calm mind and reasoned thought. Their bitterness drives them to act impulsively, harming themselves and others in the process. The Stoics advise us not to emulate the angry. While anger may arise involuntarily, we always have a choice in how we respond to it. The wise course is to pause for perspective when we feel provoked. Anger, if unchecked, poisons our own lives, leading to regret and further bitterness. It is far better to act from reason and self-control, avoiding petty grudges and resentment. As Epictetus famously stated, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." By allowing anger to dictate our actions, we surrender our control and give power to those who provoke us. Number 5. The complainer. The chronic complainer is yet another tiresome personality type the Stoics warn us to avoid emulating. Complainers are perpetually negative, always criticizing and moaning about their circumstances, no matter how small or insignificant. Instead of finding solutions or seeking improvement, they spread gloom rather than light. They find fault with almost everything in their lives: the weather, the government, their job, their relationships, anything can become a target for their dissatisfaction. Minor imperfections loom large in their minds, becoming massive grievances that they feel justified in lamenting. The complainer's attitude is rooted in the belief that nothing is ever good enough. Instead of seeking constructive action to make things better, they prefer to wallow in negativity. They play the victim, acting powerless and helpless in situations where they could take steps to improve things. The complainer craves the sympathy of others, often broadcasting their grievances widely to gain attention and affirmation. In this way, their complaints become a tool for seeking validation, even if it means draining the energy and morale of those around them. What the complainer fails to realize is that their constant venting only reinforces their own unhappiness. Their complaints become a toxic mindset, one that keeps them stuck in a cycle of negativity. The more they focus on what's wrong, the more they miss the opportunity to find what's right, to seek solutions, or to take positive action. As Epictetus wisely said, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters." This means that, rather than complaining about things that are outside of our control, we should focus on the things that truly matter and take constructive action toward them. The Stoics teach us not to emulate the complainers. While it's true that hardships and difficulties are inevitable parts of life, excessive lamenting only makes things worse for ourselves and those around us. It is far wiser to focus on what we can control, the way we respond to challenges, and to take proactive steps to make the best of every situation. Complaining about circumstances that are beyond our control only drains our energy and adds to our suffering. On the other hand, by embracing a mindset of resilience, we can face hardship with wisdom and find opportunities for growth, even in the toughest times. Hardships are a part of life, but we have the power to choose how we meet them. Will we meet them with wisdom, resilience, and action? Or will we succumb to futile complaints that only serve to keep us stuck in frustration and despair? Number 6. The self-pitying. Another tiresome personality type the Stoics caution us against emulating is the self-pitying individual. These people are often caught in a cycle of wallowing in their own misery, constantly portraying themselves as victims of an unjust world. Instead of looking at their circumstances objectively or taking responsibility, the self-pitying person blames everyone and everything, other people, fate, the universe, and any external force they can point to, except themselves. Their mindset is dominated by the mantra, "Poor, pitiful me. I deserve better than this unfair world." This mentality breeds a sense of powerlessness, where the self-pitying individual feels trapped by circumstances beyond their control. They grow resentful, believing that the world owes them something, and that life should be easier or kinder. But rather than take steps to improve their situation, they expect others to coddle them, to comfort them, and to make things right. They broadcast tales of woe, seeking sympathy and reassurance from those around them, not to find a solution, but to reinforce their belief that they are victims. They want others to affirm that they are not to blame, and that it is the world's fault for their troubles. However, this mindset of victimhood keeps the self-pitying person trapped. By framing themselves as a perpetual victim, they avoid accountability and the need to take constructive action to improve their circumstances. They find comfort in their misery, which only deepens their suffering. This self-absorption crowds out any compassion for others who may be facing their own challenges. The self-pitying person becomes so wrapped up in their own struggles that they fail to recognize that everyone faces adversity in some form. The Stoics warn us against falling into the mindset of self-pity. They advise us to take a more balanced view of life's inevitable ups and downs. Life is full of challenges, but it is how we respond to those challenges that defines us. When we face adversity, We should focus on what we can control and build resilience, rather than wallowing in despair or portraying ourselves as victims. Life is not about seeking comfort or sympathy. It is about rising above our circumstances with strength and grace. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, begin each day by telling yourself, "Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all due to the offender's ignorance of what is good and evil." This reminder helps us prepare for the challenges we will face, acknowledging that difficulty is a natural part of life, but that our response to it is entirely within our control. By choosing to face adversity with maturity, resilience, and wisdom, we transform challenges into opportunities for growth, rather than allowing them to consume us with self-pity and melodrama. Number 7. The arrogant, a destructive force. Stoicism warns against. In the complex world of human behavior, one of the most toxic personality types that Stoicism warns against is arrogance. The arrogant are those who carry an inflated sense of self-importance, often thinking of themselves as superior to everyone around them. This arrogance is not just a fleeting emotion, it becomes the very lens through which they view the world. Their excessive pride blinds them to their own flaws, making them incapable of seeing their true standing. In their eyes, they are always right, always the best at what they do, and deserving of special treatment. To them, their talents, intelligence, and status are unparalleled, and they hold an unwavering belief that they are entitled to privileges others are not. This inflated sense of superiority breeds an air of condescension. The arrogant person talks down to others, dismissing advice and disregarding any form of constructive criticism. To them, all feedback is beneath them, a mere waste of time. And this arrogance? It often leads to deep intolerance, disrespect, and even hostility toward those they perceive as inferior. They look down upon people, not seeing them as equals, but as mere stepping stones to elevate their own sense of worth. What makes the arrogant truly dangerous, however, is their inability to recognize their mistakes or limitations. They are trapped in a self-imposed cage of pride, unable to admit that they are flawed like everyone else. Admitting faults would destroy their carefully constructed self-image, which they guard fiercely. Their egos are so fragile that even the slightest hint of self-reflection threatens to shatter the illusion they've built. Without humility, they are incapable of growing or learning, rejecting feedback and advice that could help them become better versions of themselves. But the consequences of arrogance stretch far beyond personal growth. The arrogant are often disconnected from meaningful relationships. Their need for dominance and validation prevents them from seeing others as equals, making it impossible for them to form authentic bonds. Genuine connection, built on mutual respect and understanding, holds no appeal for the arrogant, as it does not fulfill their constant need for recognition and control. The Stoics, in all their wisdom, warn us about the dangers of arrogance. They remind us that true strength comes not from inflating our own importance, but from recognizing our shared human vulnerability. They advise us to cultivate humility, for it is humility that opens the door to personal growth, empathy, and meaningful connections. Pride, when rooted in virtue and wisdom, becomes a source of true strength, a strength that doesn't need to belittle others to feel validated. As Marcus Aurelius so eloquently stated, "You have no right to pass judgment on others at all. Their natures are the ones responsible. Their dispositions have become as they are under compulsion of character and necessity." In other words, the arrogance that we so often see in others is not a reflection of their true worth, but rather a product of their character and circumstances. To understand this is to understand the futility of arrogance and the importance of practicing humility in our daily lives. Number 8. The selfish, a destructive force that undermines connection. The selfish individual is another problematic personality type that Stoic teachings warn us about. These people are deeply focused on their own interests, often placing them above everything else without regard for how their actions might affect those around them. At the heart of selfishness is a simple yet dangerous question: what's in it for me? Their entire decision-making process revolves around personal gain, with little to no consideration for the impact their actions may have on others. This mentality leads the selfish person to prioritize their own agenda, regardless of the consequences for the people in their lives. They may take advantage of others, ignore their needs, break promises, or shirk responsibilities that don't serve them immediately. They see no moral dilemma in benefiting at the expense of others, as their excessive self-interest blinds them to the broader social obligations we all share. The selfish individual is more likely to see people as tools to achieve their goals, rather than as fellow human beings with their own rights and needs. The long-term consequences of selfishness are significant. While the selfish person may achieve short-term success or personal gain, they often do so at the cost of relationships and trust. Their actions create a reputation for being untrustworthy and disloyal, causing others to distance themselves. Over time, this self-centered approach leads to cynicism, exploitation, and isolation. Instead of finding fulfillment in mutual care and support, the selfish person is left with a hollow sense of achievement, devoid of the meaningful connections that are essential for a truly rich and satisfying life. The Stoics caution that selfishness is a fundamentally flawed path. We are not solitary creatures meant to live in isolation or self-interest, but social beings designed to live in harmony with one another. True fulfillment comes not from elevating ourselves above others, but from lifting others up alongside us. This mutual care and support are what give life true meaning and depth. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, what brings a person tranquility is to do what's right and to be focused on the well-being of his fellow man. The pursuit of personal gain at the expense of others might bring temporary satisfaction, but it cannot provide the lasting peace and joy that comes from genuine compassion and shared human connection. Number 9. The stubborn. Another deeply problematic personality type discussed in Stoic philosophy is the stubborn individual. These individuals are characterized by their rigid attachment to their beliefs, opinions, and ways of thinking. They are often unwilling to entertain alternative views, dismissing any suggestion that contradicts their own. They insist on sticking to their own perspective, regardless of the consequences, and refuse to listen to reason or compromise in any meaningful way. Their inflexibility creates tension and frustration in relationships, whether personal or professional. The stubborn person feels the need to always have things their way, no matter how unreasonable it may seem to others. They cannot or will not acknowledge other viewpoints, even when presented with undeniable evidence that contradicts their stance. This unyielding mentality results in an entrenched position that resists change. The more they are confronted with the truth, the more they double down on their own view, refusing to consider that they could be wrong. This is not just a minor flaw, it is a dangerous trap that prevents personal growth, wisdom, and evolution of thought. Rather than taking a step back and being open to adjusting their course, the stubborn individual will continue down a misguided path. They would rather persist in a lie they have told themselves than admit they were mistaken. They avoid introspection because doing so would mean having to confront their own vulnerability and ego. This refusal to change is not a sign of strength. Rather, it's an unhealthy attachment to pride and a fragile sense of self. The stubborn individual also struggles in relationships and collaborations. Because of their inability to bend or compromise, everything becomes a power struggle. there is no room for mutual understanding or cooperation, as they see every disagreement as a contest that must be won. Their way, or the highway, becomes their motto, and in doing so they alienate those around them. This creates an environment where growth and harmony are impossible, as everyone is too busy trying to make their voice heard in the face of unyielding obstinance. Stoicism teaches the folly of such stubborn rigidity. While holding firm to principles is important, true wisdom lies in the ability to apply those principles flexibly in accordance with reason and care. The Stoics believed that we harm ourselves when we fail to adapt to the ever-changing nature of life. We close ourselves off from the possibility of personal improvement when we refuse to listen to others, or when we ignore the wisdom that can only be gained through introspection and openness. Our goals, according to Stoicism, should not be to stubbornly defend our fragile egos, but to pursue truth, growth, and improvement. We are not meant to cling to our assumptions, but to evolve and expand our minds, allowing new ideas and perspectives to shape us. In the end, true strength lies not in stubbornness, but in the courage to change and learn, in the humility to admit we may be wrong, and in the wisdom to adapt to life's inevitable challenges.